Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back. Did I scare you, Alex?
I was like, oh man, the energy, the intensity.
To another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. What's up, boys? What's up, House? You back from the expo?
Yeah, buddy. Good times at the expo. Heard you guys talking about it last night.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Meeting everybody, hanging out, watching Rob dominate you in the QB competition. It was just, it was good stuff, man. All around.
I felt jaded when you didn't even record mine, but you only recorded Rob's. That was before he was whooping my ass.
I was trying to follow you and get both of you in, but you things to fail miserably at those before I could get video. So, I just, tagged along with Rob because I was going to record yours, then his, then his, so we could see a comparison of the two. But clearly you knew after the first one that it wasn't going well. So you just hustled over and then tried to go convince the guy to give you more points after the fact.
No, I asked him what my points were.
After we had told you that Rob had dominated you, Mario walks probably...
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious about this. Go ahead. I remember this.
We were upstairs at a concession stand. He goes downstairs, probably 50 yards down the sideline, all the way across the field to go talk to a guy, only to have it confirmed that Rob whooped on him.
Yeah, and the part that I was
could have saved him the trip.
The part that I was curious about, Alex, is I wasn't sure because they asked me, what'd you get? Because that's what I went down to. I had never got my points total. I knew it was bad, right? But I was also curious, because I had 2 good 20-yard throws out of maybe 1 good 20-yard throw and only 2 good ones. But I was like, the 20-yard throw may carry me for this. Let me see what it did for me. First off, next year we'll not be trying from the 20s. I thought that would have been good enough. But I went and asked him what my point total were. And the moment that I came back up, what was it? I was like, oh, it was real close to Rob's 23. And I don't think I ever did, but anything comes out of my mouth when I start drinking. So I wasn't sure if it slipped later in the night or what.
You had, I'm still going. You had less than 10.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I can't wait for next year.
Hey, Alex in the building. He's telling us and promising us that next year he's there. We're going to set up some golf. Supposedly there might be a scramble, so we're excited for that. But of course the golf would get Alex in. I mean, the dude comes on with a golf polo every episode, right? Right now he's got the golf long sleeve on. Yeah.
Sponsored by Puma.
Yeah, it's like you're ready to go golf. I'm going to catch a round after this. It's 10 p.m.
Let's shut down.
Yeah.
Claiming sponsors that we don't have.
Yeah.
Right.
You never know. They might be, that's a good idea. We should give them money.
Alex, I'm glad that I have it on recording that you're committing to this. So that,
for sure.
You try to bail next year.
Hey, I had to go to a wedding. You think I don't want to go win the QB skills competition? Let's be real.
If there was a punt, what was it? What was the competition you won a while ago?
Pass kick.
Did you just say win the QB competition?
Yeah. I'm not going there to lose, House.
Okay.
Bro, I could still probably throw it 60 yards.
Wow.
At least 55.
This sounds like content. Rob's got the TikTok popping. Sounds like content. Let's meet
A
up.
year away content. We'll have it.
No, I want to see it
You
now.
want to doubt this? You
I
want to
want to
doubt
see it
this?
now.
Doubt this?
There's
we'll
a
meet-
football field right down the street we can go to.
We'll get Robbie down here.
And if I have a year, I'm gonna train hard.
You just said you can do it right now.
Oh, I
You
can
did
still
just say
sling
that.
it. I can still sling it.
Hmm.
Don't doubt me.
Too late.
I'm like Kurt Warner. I can go bag some groceries and throw a bomb tomorrow.
Get out of here, Klay Thompson. Get out of here. Go back to basketball.
Hey, where's the ball come from? Deep. That's where it's coming from.
I've been actually meaning to take a screenshot of our show and post it on Twitter and be like, Klay Thompson joined our show.
It'll be
Tag him.
retweeted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tag Klay Thompson.
All right, let's get into the episode. So today we're gonna do. Yesterday we did our final Q. Yeah, it was yesterday. Final QB rankings, our consensus, the Dad Bod Cruise consensus. This week we have this episode. We have the RB rankings. Before we get into that, we're gonna hit the little bit of news that there was today. A lot of it's like, oh, this person said it out of preseason. So there's a couple bits of note. Deshaun Watson suspended for 11 weeks. Brown saga is over.
11 games.
11 games. Yeah, you're right. 11
Take
games.
those hopes away. You forgot about the $5 million, but
Yeah, by week 9, so it's 11 games. I think he returns week
13
against the Texans.
The
Conveniently
irony.
placed Texans.
So
Go ahead, House.
for those that don't know, because I saw it a lot today, people asking why 11 seems like a weird number, right? But he has to be active for 6 games for it to count as a season for his contract. So if they did any more than that, the contract would roll over into next year, and they'd be paying that $1 million next year. So
Wow.
they had to get 6 games in for that.
NFL really penalizing the Browns here. They're like, hey, you signed him.
Yep.
yeah, that was a naughty wrist slap.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, the Browns signed him, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
no denying it. It is what it is, and like, kind of funny, but also
Yeah.
probably conveniently placed for the Texans.
Yeah, didn't hurt.
CeeDee Lamb missed practice again with a foot injury. I do want to note before you guys rip me apart. I read that this sounded like almost like a cut on the toe. I don't know. That was a blue check marked Twitter source. So it sounds like it was barely an injury. He had to get a stitch on his toe. Keep monitoring because this has been since this week that he's been having a foot injury.
Is that why you traded him away?
No, I didn't even want to talk about the trade.
You were
It sucked.
worried. It
All
was
I'm
like
gonna
a
say.
bio freeze. You were like,
That's all
"Is
I'm
this
gonna
Antonio
say.
Brown? Did he freeze his feet? What if it's not a cut?"
I think it was the right. I think I made the right move for.
I would too. Yeah, especially froze his feet.
Super flex needed another quarterback. I had to do it.
I like the trade.
I know I lost it, but like for my team this year, I feel like it's a winning trade. I think.
Yeah,
For
because
who
your
now?
team was. Yeah.
I need a QB in that super flex, or else my team ends up being a little short every week.
Yeah. Which Kenneth Walker
Yeah.
is that who your number 2 is?
No,
It's different
other
league?
team, different
Okay.
league. Pierre Strong currently profiles as the RB4 on this team that was reported just tonight. I find this hard, but yet pretty simple to believe if you have Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm assuming this one's going to be the gross one, Ty Montgomery as their third. I think. Alex, you're the residential Patriots fan. What are you saying?
Who knows besides Damian Harris and Ramondre? And with that, you don't even know who's going to get the bulk of the carries. It's Patriots. If you think you know, you have no idea because they don't know. They don't even know who their coordinator is. So don't read into it.
Yeah, that just means that by week 4, he's going to have a top 12 finish one week because that's just what they do.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there only one RB that we're buying on this team?
No,
Is it Ramondre?
I think you buy both. I think Ramondre has
Damian?
more. Yeah, you get Damian, but do you get him at his ADP? I don't know.
House is shaking his head.
I don't think I want either of them. Been burned by New England running backs in the past. I just stay away. unless they would have had to show me that one of them is the guy going into it, and I just don't see that happening. I think they'll both be productive, but I think it's going to be productive not to the effect that they're both going to do well in the same game. It's going to be 1 week it's Harris, 1 week it's Stevenson. You're never going to know.
Yeah, generally, if you could get the guy that's scoring touchdowns, and I know that sounds simple, right? But Damian Harris, 15 last year?
He's still going to be the
had
goal
that-
line guy.
Had that year that he had 18. Like, if you could get that RB on the team, you can manage starting him weekly.
I know like the Patriots backfield gets crap, but it's like Damian Harris after Sony Michel. Like Sony Michel had a relevant year. Damian Harris has had 2 relevant years. Ramondre kicked in late in the season. Like it's not that you want to completely avoid him. It's just you've got to understand. Don't expect him. Yeah. Are they going to be an RB1? There's a low chance of it, but it could happen. But they're definitely going to be worth rostering.
Yeah. And sometimes I have always considered Damian Harris has been given the reins to kind of take over this backfield and ends up not blowing it, but like
still like him
or something like that. So I think if the talent proves strong enough, they will let that person be the, I'm going to quote this, workhorse in the backfield. Yeah, because like what's that mean for New England? Maybe 60%, I think. Which is great if they're scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. It'll be a top 10 rushing team this year. So it'll
top 10 everything, Alex.
They run the ball. They're going to run the ball. They ran the ball last year.
Kenny Pickett overtaking the QB2 spot on this team, which is exciting, embarrassing that it had to be this way. We're going to turn it over to our Steelers president with his terrible towel. Do you think he's starting the season? Does he play this year?
I do not believe that he starts the season. I think Mitch has that job firmly in hand. I've said all along that I think it's going to be dependent upon what their record is after 4 to 6 games. I think if they are winning 500 or above, they're going to roll with Mitch. And I think if they are below 500, probably 6 games into the season, I think they make the change and they get Kenny on the field.
It's exciting to see. And I have some Mitch love in the sense that I just trust Tomlin so much. So if he's starting him, then he's buying into the fact, like, of course we've seen him start Mason too, but I think his hands were tied in that situation.
I mean,
they went and got Mitch.
It was Mason or a duck collar that year, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean,
they went and got Mitch. Like they saw something there.
It's also with Tomlin too. He's not on the hot seat. So, and a lot of other teams, if you have a QB who's not performing and you have a first round pick, you want to rush him in early because you're like, hey, you're on the hot seat regardless. This could be for your job. With Tomlin, it's not going to be for his job. So, go ahead.
Is this is it Arthur Smith for Atlanta? Is that what we're guiding this towards or not? Do you think he's on the hot seat? Year 2?
No, I don't think Tomlin's on the hot seat. I think
no. The Atlanta coach.
No, I don't think so.
I believe he is too. This is a complete rebuild, but I do think
it is. It's a complete rebuild. I don't think they're expecting much. I mean, they want to see effort. They want to see positive, just like with Campbell and the Lions. Like it's a rebuild, but they still want to see some progress in certain areas. So that's going to be the same thing with the Falcons. Tomlin might sit. I mean, I think he gives them a first half of the season, regardless. I think he gets the first half of the season, unless he's 1-7 or 1-8. Then I think Tomlin understands like it's either quarterback. They're new. It's going to be an adjustment.
Does this team? Is there a scenario where this team goes 2-6 and Mitch Trubisky is statistically a top 15 QB?
No.
No, that's gross.
No.
I just wanted to check. So really, if they go 2-6, Mitch should be sitting by week 9.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, unless they can't stop the run like they did last year,
or the D line.
I think they're going to have a better defense than they did all of last year. So,
yeah,
they've got the. I'm just looking at the schedule. I mean, they got the Browns and Jets, so they should win 2 games out of the first 4.
Oh, come on.
They will beat the Browns if Brissett's the quarterback.
Well, Brown defense. You've been talking about it a lot,
It
Alex.
doesn't matter. Brissett is a
All
trash
right.
can.
Now I want to
Right.
move on. Did you have one more thing to say, House? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if anybody hasn't caught on, every mock draft we've done on here, I've taken Kenny Pickett as my last pick just because I do it every time I do a mock draft. He's my guy. Here we go.
I don't know if you saw the 10-teamer, which I just watched last night. Cody was pretty bummed because he's been religiously drafting Darrell Henderson, and he got overtaken, which was kind of early because it was 13th round in a 10-team standard. So I think that's Brian reached pretty hard on him.
Yeah, a little bit, but at the time it didn't seem like that big of a reach. But if you look at where he's been going and other stuff,
it's like 13 in PPR,
yeah,
pretty much, yeah, and 12 team. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, the docket. No, that's not the right phrase. We're gonna do our final RB rankings, which truthfully, we're going to be still moving around a little bit. Like at this point, though, we've kind of got our main ideas, our main stats placed out. Injuries, of course, happen, so that could change certain things, bump other guys up by pulling one out. You guys understand. So what we wanted to display it was our Dad Bod consensus. So this is no one of our sort of rankings. Like it's not just one of ours. It's just the average between 6 of us. So what will likely come up in tonight's combo is, oh my gosh, our team is too low on him, or oh my gosh, our team is way too high on him. And we'll kind of go back and forth about that. But for the most part, we're pretty much done with our rankings. We've got to get them into the Fantasy Pros ECR, boys. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Get those up there. But yeah, let's dive in. I have them set in tiers based on how our averages panned out. So the guys that were very close in averaging are tier 1. And truthfully, JT could be in his own tier here. I think we have him at, and I'm not looking at it, House, and I feel like
I have
you have
in
it
front
at,
of me.
Yeah, because you're a responsible individual. And when we look at Alex, he's singing like a SpongeBob song in his head. JT is,
that was Mario calling me the old guy of the group, by the way.
JT is probably at, I think it's 1.67. Meanwhile,
1.17.
Yeah, we drop everybody to the next one up is like 3.3.
Yep, 3.67 is our next highest average.
3.67. I did group these into the same tier because I do, in a thought, like in a way that we're thinking about these guys, I think we're probably close to taking all 4 of these guys before a wide receiver, but let's get into it. So tier 1, we have Jonathan Taylor at 1, Austin Eckler at 2, Christian McCaffrey at 3, Najee Harris at 4. So there's 2 things that stand out to me, and I'm going to kind of pin this question to you guys. Our group's kind of low on Christian McCaffrey. So I think I'm going to start with Alex here because I know he is the CMC lover. At least about 3 weeks ago, he was a big, I think, right, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I have him 2 behind Jonathan Taylor, but yeah, he's climbing up everybody's draft right now. I mean, if he's healthy, and I think Baker Mayfield's the best QB they've had in a few years. The offense is best it's been in a while. He's going to have more open lanes and more opportunities out of the backfield without getting hit as much. So, yeah, he could be number 1 this year. Wouldn't surprise me.
And House, if I'm not mistaken, you were also relatively high. You have him at 2 as well. So really, it's me, Cody, and Brian pulling down this.
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. It's a split, right? So 3 of us have him in the top 2, and then 3 of us have him 5 to 7 because it's a 5, a 6, and a 7.
Yeah, and I guess I want to give my point on why I'm a little bit lower on him, and it's not fair because I think I have some Barkley love and I have some ETN love. You guys have heard that. I love the pass catching back. I love Najee Harris. I like these guys. Austin Eckler. I like all of them. The fear I have with CMC is not, I expect him to get injured. I can't say that's completely rid my mind. But I have to, and I've been saying this all along, I have to believe that this offense is going to limit him a little bit more in this offense if they want to keep him throughout the year. And Robbie's argument typically is Matt Rule is on the hot seat, which it makes it tough because I think he's making a good point there.
Yeah, but the contrary can be said for that, because if Matt Rule's on the hot seat, he's got to ride his best player, and CMC's far and away the best player on that team.
And that's what he's saying.
And okay, so
he's going against me.
I thought you said that Rob was going to say him. Okay, my bad. I misunderstood.
No. Rob is with you guys. I think Rob may actually be the highest. I think he has him at RB1.
He does. Yeah, they have to ride him. They have to ride CMC as far as he can take him, as long as he stays healthy. Obviously, there's the injury concern. We don't want to rank based off that because we can't predict that. But he's a guy. He's electric. I've said it before on here. He's probably the most exciting player on the he's the most exciting fantasy player when he's right. So they have to ride him if they want any chance of succeeding. If Rule wants any chance of keeping his job, CMC's got to do his thing.
100%. I mean, Mario, I think you have
97%.
You have Eckler over McCaffrey in an offense that has more weapons.
Yeah.
So
I mean, kind of, kind of.
They do. I mean, the Chargers have more weapons. They're number one and number two.
They have one more weapon, is what you're saying. They have Mike Will compared to Robbie Anderson. That's it.
So you have Keenan Allen, Mike Will. I think the wide receiver depth is better.
You could argue this for TDs as well. So I appreciate it.
So, but what I'm saying is McCaffrey he's very similar with Eckler, where he's going to get a lot of catches. So,
yeah, no, and it's definitely like, I know it is almost, my ranking of CMC is almost contradictory towards a lot of how I believe and how I see RBs.
Najee Harris.
I'll get into Najee, but like CMC, it is the prime reason that I'm actually I'm going to stick in this boat of thinking that they limit him to some extent. I'm not saying he's going to walk away with 12 touches a game. That's not what I'm getting at. I have him at RB6. It's not crazy. It's not great. I get it. If they don't limit him, though, I do. And again, we can't predict this. I'm sorry how I'm going to say it. If they don't limit him and they keep feeding him the ball like they're feeding him, I have some concerns. I do have some concerns. So it's kind of one of those things like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So that's where I sit with them. And I think I'm set to die on this hill and be embarrassed by week 4. And maybe I can be not embarrassed by week 12, or I'll be embarrassed by week 18. Who knows? But like, if that is my only reasoning, it's not against his play. It's not against his style. It's not against anything else other than they have to do something different, I believe. Yeah, it's similar to your Jalen Hurts thoughts, though, except a little bit different. You think that Jalen Hurts might get benched.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, it's actually not.
It's just it's how you have him ranked based on something that is, I don't want to say external.
They need to win. Who's going to help you win the most? Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but what happens if they start off 1-5? Then what? Are we still talking about them needing to win? No,
they might trade him if they're 1-5.
That would be great. That'd be a smart move.
CMC, even limited, still has 300 plus touch potential, right? When he was putting up his huge numbers, 2019, when he went 1,000 and 1,000, he had
it was 392, I think.
I was going to say 287 and 84.
Damn,
so
short. 360 something. 360, 371.
You know how many guys have done that? 1,000 and 1,000? One.
Was wrong.
Chris Johnson?
Wrong.
Two.
Wrong.
David Johnson, Chris Johnson?
No.
It's not Chris Johnson?
No. Chris Johnson, I think, only had like 500 and some receiving yards.
It's 3 people. Because DeAndre Swift, we'll get to him eventually. He actually said that he has 1,000 potential, and I wrote this down.
He sure does.
I was going to ask you guys the same question. There's 3 players that have ever done it.
Now I'm on the spot. Terrell Davis.
No, it's going to be recent.
CMC is 1.
Okay. I really thought it would be DJ or Chris Johnson. So that kind of bums me out. Is LT one?
Nope.
LT was a TD guy. Damn.
Barry Sanders?
I think this is all recent, Alex. I think.
No,
It's not.
it's not.
It's not.
recent.
Both these are both old.
Is it Franco Harris?
I mean, it's no. Old is relative here. And for the sake of anybody that's listening, I'm not going to let us sit here and guess.
Dickerson?
It's CMC, Marshall Falk, and
Yeah.
Roger Craig.
I should have
Okay.
known the Marshall Falk.
Marshall
one, but
Falk, yeah. I don't know how
I
he
would
Falk
have known
should've-
Roger Gregg.
Falk should have been.
I don't
He's
know
the one
this.
I expected. I
He
did
was
not
MVP
expect
that
it
year,
to be
wasn't he?
Roger Craig.
Was it Marshall Falk MVP that year?
I'd have to go back and look, but it would make
I
I'm
sense.
think
kinda
he
surprised that
split.
that
I
happened
think
before.
it was co MVPs.
All right, let's go to Najee Harris because we're talking about CMC a lot. So I'm gonna start with I think I am the highest on him.
Yes.
I am
Yes.
Yeah, you have him at 2.
at 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, and House, you're right behind me, which is awesome, and so is Rob. We're very high on Najee as a group, though, and I'm excited about that. The whole reason I think he's in this tier 1 for us, so maybe I'm speaking over or for you guys, but the locked in work that he'll receive.
Yeah.
He is the most, I'll say this about all the guys on the board. Yeah, I'll say this all about all the guys on the board, all the running backs. He is the most guaranteed to walk away with 300, 320 plus touches. I believe, like the biggest chances.
I think he gets close to 300 carries.
Yeah.
He might get close to 400 total
I
touches.
think he gets 350. I don't know if I have that in my projection. And I don't know what just happened when I tried to say projection there, but I think he gets 350.
Alex, I think you're the low guy on him. Oh, second to lowest,
No.
5.
Yeah. I'm at 5. I mean, I think very highly of him. I just think the guys ahead of him are better. I think they just get utilized more. And McCaffrey does a little bit more. Taylor, I think, is on a better team and does really well. But Steelers run running backs, and they don't typically pay them. So, which makes them smart. So they get that 4 years out of them. I mean, they don't play around.
Yeah.
They
So,
always do.
House, I did just go peek at your projection for him. Did you want to hear it? Or should I just keep this between us?
I say it's probably way off.
Let me see.
It's pretty high. You
As
got him
far
at
as the work,
377 total
Okay.
touches.
he had 381 last year. I was just looking that up at the same time. So
Yeah,
it's not
so, I
crazy.
mean, I didn't even look at my own because I only went to yours because of what you said. I haven't
I had
about 350.
285. I had 285 for
356.
Najee.
See, 285
That's
is so low.
I have
And like you could
285.
say and here, let's talk about why people are lower on him. He was inefficient last year as a runner, kind of has been his whole college
Mhm.
career. He wasn't super efficient. He wasn't super efficient in the pass work either. But the volume was there. And if there's something that we're looking at in RBs, it's always volume and durability, which I think Najee had some injuries in college, but he was very healthy last year. So
no,
Alex
he's a
is
stud, man.
way
I'm
too
cool
low
doing-
on his volume.
I mean, 285. I don't think that's that crazy. I mean,
It's
I
kind of
307 carries last year, bud.
yeah, I don't know if it happens again. And like Mario said, he's inefficient. I still have him being, getting.
I feel like you're
receptions,
arguing
getting
something that you know.
PPR. No, I have the PPR value there from getting receptions. I mean, 285 isn't nothing. It's not like 285 is
I
bottom
agree.
half of the league in rushing. That
But-
still probably puts him as top 5 in rushes.
Literally like the last 7 years and Tomlin has a healthy back there, right? The seasons at the back stay healthy, which could be a point that you could be making. They are over 300 carries.
You're saying total.
Carries.
Total carries between
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the running backs on the squad. Yeah, I believe that.
No.
No,
The
You're saying
main
the
guy.
starting running.
This is a years. You could go back.
You're
I
talking
mean,
about
obviously
last one was
Le'Veon
what? Did James Conner have over 300
Connor never
carries?
really got there,
Connor-
dude. That's not.
So then
that's
who's
not
after
Tomlin.
Connor?
Connor was
after
never
Le'Veon.
healthy.
Connor
Who?
was never. Connor, the year that Connor
Who's
was
that?
healthy, it was high.
So 5
it's-
years ago was the last time they had a 300-yard rusher?
No, it was last year. Thank you.
Well, I'm saying besides last year, previously was it 5 years?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna use James Conner as like a metric for this? Is crazy.
I'm not saying I'm saying there's other running backs Steelers had in the last 5 years.
They do not do a split backfield. I wish we should talk about this maybe more so for like a snap.
What about 2
share
years
percentage.
ago? What did the leading rusher on the Steelers 2 years ago have?
Was it Connor wasn't even playing?
Well, why don't you check? You talking about
Yeah,
300 carries? Steelers have 3.
This is an easy bet. Like if there was an over under on 285, I would smash the over for Najee.
And so 2019, that's what you're saying?
He's saying 2020,
yeah, sure.
I think.
Or 2020?
Yeah.
Do both.
Before Najee.
Does their starting running back have over 300 carries?
No, because James Conner never eclipsed that.
James Conner
could
was
never-
running back both years.
Yes, 2020 he was.
Connor was not healthy in 2019. There was a split.
Yep.
Him and Benny Snell. Gross. Benny Snell, who just lost his job to Jalen Warren, by the way. Be on the lookout.
Yeah, seeing his number one pickup and sleeper. So if
I'm
you
just
want,
telling you, it's been I think it's been like 4 or 5 years since their last 300.
Alex, what you're saying is true, but like Connor was always on pace for it if he could stay healthy, is what I'm trying to say.
When they have a guy, I mean, he said this goes back years, but he said he's going to run the wheels off Willie Parker, and
he
was gonna
did
do that to Mendenhall. They did that.
Mendenhall,
to
yeah,
Bettis. They did that to
and Bettis
everybody.
was
They
before
could.
Tomlin, but this is a Steelers thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays that way because I'll draft those RBs all day. Anyways, all right, let's get to tier 2. In tier 2, we have Derrick Henry coming in at 5, Joe Mixon at 6, Dalvin Cook at 7, DeAndre Swift at 8, Nick Chubb at 9. So I want to say one thing, and then I'll turn it over to you, House. Joe Mixon at 6 feels very right, and I feel proud of everyone for that's where he ended up. I think that's right. Like Derrick Henry's snuck into tier 2. There's a case to be made that he should fall in tier 1, I think. But Joe Mixon right there seems perfect to me. Now, maybe this is an Alex take because he's making a face. So I'm going to start with Alex.
With Joe Mixon?
Do you think he should be higher?
I have him 4th.
So you, of course, think he should be going higher.
Why is that an of course thing? Yeah, I think he's going to have a great offense, and he's efficient when he's healthy, and that's a good team, and he's a good running back. So, yeah, I definitely think he's going to have a very good year. He had a pretty solid year last year.
Yeah, I want to say he finished 7th.
Yeah.
Better line now.
Yeah.
House, do you think Joe Mixon should be going higher or lower in this?
I think he's about right. So I think I have him ranked 7, which I mean you could probably interchange a couple of these guys and they
Finished
feel like they're in the
RB4.
right spot. But yeah, I mean Mixon, he's somebody that, to be honest with you, when it comes up in drafts, you're like, yeah, I'll take Joe Mixon. Like you're excited to get like CMC or if one of those other guys comes to you. But when it gets to Mixon, you're just like, all right, I feel pretty good about it, right? I feel like he's a guy that just does it. There's no real, I don't want to say there's no excitement about it, but there's not the same level as there is with some of the other guys kind of right around him. You know, there's hype around some. Henry's done it for as long as he has and the style
He gets
that he does.
volume as well.
And Mixon he just does it pretty consistently.
Yeah, in 2020 it was a mess dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
But when we see him on the field, which was all last season, finished RB4, has been dominant. I have him at 7 as well, House. So I think we drug him down a little bit. Brian has him at 4 and Alex has him at 4. Then the rest of us 7, 8. One that I wanted to call out, DeAndre Swift at 8, which I think is higher than consensus. So I'm not mad about that. But I think me and Robbie pull it up from consensus because
Yeah.
I think you guys are just a little bit too low on DeAndre Swift.
I'm big on Swift this year, but I think at 7, that's
Yeah, you're closest, Alex. You're closest. You're closest at 7. House has him at 9. We have an 18 in there, which is
Brian.
insane.
That's
yeah.
wild.
That's Brian.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Which
think
drags
he
him. He might end up like 6 if he was like, I don't know, if he put him 10 there.
Yeah.
But Swift was on pace to be an RB5 last season. Got hurt, came back for the last 2 games. Didn't even get much in the last game. Didn't look great in the game that he first came back. I just am struggling to see what are we missing here? Are you expecting him to get hurt? Because like he was dominant last season when he was healthy.
More
Is
weapons.
this more weapons? So you're expecting less targets?
Yeah. They added weapons. They drafted. They got some guys in free agency. I think they're a little bit more confident running the ball. And since they should be more of a competing team this year, they're going to try to put up more points and not get behind.
I think that's a fair point, and that is my biggest concern with Swift is, are we going to start seeing Goff actually move the ball around because he was working with, Hodges from the Browns, Kadero Hodges, and Josh Reynolds last season. So they loaded some weapons around them. We saw Mon-Ra in the last episode of Hard Knocks just looking straight swole.
Beast.
Nick Chubb is the last one I wanted to talk about, and there's a specific reason I want to talk about it. And I don't know if you guys know this. House has him outside of his top 12. Not only does House have him outside of his top 12, House has him at RB 15. And he is just either frozen or straight staring at us. But I think he's frozen. I thought that was a look of intimidation.
It looks like a school photo. Smile.
Yeah.
Class of 1991. That's
Like, damn,
one.
dude, I didn't mean to. I just saw you were low on Nick Chubb, dude.
It's Terminator. He's like, error.
Dude, it's pretty crazy that he has him
he's
at
wrong.
RB 15.
He's
but
wrong.
He's wrong. Yeah, I want to hear why.
You're wrong, House. You're the most wrong. That white cat backwards makes you more wrong.
He should be popping in here back shortly.
Oh, what do you say?
The internet is out. Give him a second.
Oh, that's
okay.
fine.
So maybe we keep moving and we'll come back to.
Yeah,
Nick
just
Chubb
jump.
here
Yeah,
shortly.
you can just jump in.
Yeah, we'll ask the question here shortly.
Well, we just skipped on Nick Chubb real quick, but that's fine.
Well, did you have something to say about him?
No, I was just I mean, what did I have him? I have him second highest behind Brian. I had him at 6.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. You're bringing a great point.
There.
Wait, we'll get your argument here shortly. House, I don't know if you heard me. All we saw was like what looked like you just held the straightest face. And I thought I was pretty intimidated. I thought I offended you by saying this. You have Chubb as RB 15.
Sure do.
Tell us. Okay, so Chubb, outside of injury, has predominantly been like a top 12 points per game RB. What's the deal here?
I think that you would think the contrary here, but I think that the Deshaun situation, and in full disclosure, I did my rankings when I did them at the beginning of the year, assuming that he was going to miss a significant amount of time. I thought a year at first, so I don't know that I even gave Deshaun any sort of stats at the beginning, but I think that it impacts Chubb more than people are thinking. I think that they are going to force Brissett to throw the ball to beat them, and I think that's going to impact Chubb. He's efficient. He gets the job done. No questions asked. Great running back. Would love him if he was on my team. But I think that the Watson situation impacts him negatively, probably more than anybody else on this team.
So on the same episode that we have today, you have one of the higher rankers of Nick Chubb, actually highest than he's ever been ranked. RB6 by Alex. What? I love when you just silent. You just leave me out here. So tell us a little bit why you have him ranked.
I was doing Raise the Roof.
I was going to say, for those that aren't necessarily watching, Alex was
narrating.
Alex like it was 2002.
Yeah, start
like it's man of the house. Like I'm Sinbad. I'm just sitting there. I have Chubb.
Hungry.
I have. I think Chubb has a great year. So I think it's the counter argument to House, to where the one thing the Browns do have with the offensive line is the ability to run the ball. As if their defense plays well enough where it keeps them in games, and Brissett is the actual QB, they're not going to ask him to do a lot. I think the person who gets affected the most of the Watson situation is Amari Cooper. I think Chubb and Hunt both starting out are going to get touches, carries. Those two guys are just going to run a lot. Hunt's going to be very valuable if he actually plays. I don't trust Brissett at all. I do think their defense is good enough, and I think their running offense is good enough to where that's going to carry them.
Break the tie, Mario. And I already know what you're going to say.
I'm not going to go for RB6 and Nick Chubb in a PPR. It's never going to be that. It's not even somebody that I'm typically drafting in PPR. I do think 15 is too low, and I think 6 is too high, so I can't even break your guys' tie. I have him at 10, which is pretty smack dab in the middle for both of you. He's not going to get the pass work unless Hunt sits out, which, Alex, that would have been a better point, and I probably would have broke the tie and did what was it, around the horn? I would have probably beeped you. I would have probably hit the little beep. But instead, you didn't even talk about that. So, yeah, perfect.
Well,
I think that was accidental. Yeah.
But the ESPN alert coming through on my iPad at the perfect time.
Breaking news. Watson is now paying $10 million.
Boys, let's hit our tier 3, and I will start this one off right after I read them off because I have so much to say about one specifically. We have number 10, Alvin Kamara, 11, Lenny Fournette, 12, Saquon Barkley, 13, Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams at 14, James Conner at 15. Alex.
Uh-oh.
The guy that just told me there's more targets or more weapons on this offense, that's why I have him lower. There's just not going to be as much options for him in the pass catching work. Alvin Kamara, you have ranked 8. The guy just had 2 wide receivers. You could say whatever you want about Jarvis Landry. Sure. Fine. Great. Michael Thomas is back. Mark Ingram is back. Jameis Winston is throwing him the ball.
Oh.
They don't have Sean Payton anymore. And you have him at RB8.
Same OC.
Yeah. And House did too. So why don't you try that? Are you scared?
But I was going based off of what you just said literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's Alvin Kamara. And are you really thinking that Ingram's going to, hey, I'm going to take a lot of carries and touches from you? Have you not watched Mark Ingram the last 2 years? I'm just being honest.
He saw him. He looked all right.
He's old. He's beat down. Alvin Kamara does catch the ball a ton. He does everything. He's going to be a top 10 running back, probably with less than 900 yards rushing.
You think he's going to receive that much in the passing game?
Why is that such a crazy?
Because you just addressed Mark Ingram, but you didn't talk about Chris Olave or Jarvis Landry or Michael Thomas even being back. Michael Thomas was there last season. He finished RB8 last season.
What was Kamara when Michael Thomas was around? Were they both
amazing? But who else was around? Sean Payton and Drew Brees.
I get it, but it was the tail end of Drew Brees' career. He was dinking and dunking. If you but what I'm saying is Jameis Winston is very capable. Him with cataract surgery, he can still throw the ball. They know who they're to get the ball to. They're going to throw the ball to Kamara. They're going to run it, and they're going to try to keep turnovers and risky situations out of Jameis's hand.
They sure are.
So Kamara's going to be involved.
No, it's the 3 slant guys that they have on their team. How far
That's
do
throwing
these
the
guys
ball
run?
forward.
These guys don't
in
run
the
routes.
middle.
I mean, they run short routes. I mean,
have you ever played? I mean, I'm just
Olave
being
goes
honest.
downfield.
Yes. You
Fine.
have you played
There's
football?
Jarvis Landry and Michael
Have
Thomas.
you tried to throw the ball? The last place you want to throw the football is where? In the middle of the field.
He did try and throw the ball, and he didn't do it as well as Rob.
That's right.
Throwing the ball in the middle of the field is the most risky place to throw it. You have safeties, you have linebackers, and you have DBs on man. That is the most dangerous. I'm just saying, you know how easy it is to dump off one-on-one coverage to Kamara? To do a little sling pass to him? Than it is to throw to Chris Olave with a linebacker playing in zone coverage.
But I want to bring this back.
Dumping it off.
Why is this argument just being erased? Like Jared Goff is so much better than Jameis Winston. Like literally 5 minutes ago, you just said the same thing to me. There's too many players on this field. Why is this? I don't understand why you're. How is this different?
What are you talking about? I have Swift and Kamara 7 and 8.
That's a good point then. I feel like that's a fair point.
I literally have them doing the same exact thing.
I didn't know where he had Swift.
So I supported my argument, and my rankings show that. Thank you.
I'm trying to look up where you have Michael Thomas because I'm sure it's insane.
That was awesome.
Did you just high five yourself, or did you smack your belly? Because I'm looking at your ranks right now.
The table's in front of my hand. I can't.
You still hit it quite a bit.
I have to lean back more.
Ooh, I think Michael Thomas is way down here.
Alex has Michael Thomas at 13.
There we go. So, come on, dude.
There can't be a top 15 receiver with a top 10 back. That can't happen.
It can. It never happens in the passing game. What are you claiming Alvin's going to be doing the whole time? How good do you think Jameis is going to be?
I think Jameis.
It happens all the time, Alex, when they're rushing the ball. You just said Alvin's getting 900 rushing yards.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
What do I have Jameis? I think I have Jameis throwing for 4,500 yards. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. He did over 5,000 before with less games.
I don't think Alvin Kamara comes in. Yeah, he was launching the ball. How many interceptions did he have? 33?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I don't think Alvin Kamara comes in the top 10.
Okay, that's fine.
Add it to our bet list.
You're going to tell me the sun's going to rise on the west too? That's fine.
You need to rank Swift a little bit higher, okay, buddy?
I like it. It's not like I'm ranking him 18, you know.
No, that's fair.
I actually think I have Kamara too high.
Okay.
Thank you, House.
Not by a ton. Not by a ton, but I think probably by a couple spots.
I'm okay with having him the highest. I'm not mad about that. I've watched football before.
Jesus. You literally get out of here. I won't even say this on air because I want to. I want to.
What, golfing on Sundays?
YouTube King. I watch football.
No, I'm not even talking. It was a joke. I'm like, I'm not blind. I watch the games. Kamara's a beast. He's a dog. He's impossible.
You know what is
to get
interesting
down.
is that he did have 18.1 points per game last season, which is pretty dominant.
Well, that's weird.
So there's no slowing down there.
That's really weird.
I just don't trust it that they added 2 more wide. They had Marquez Callaway. It is, and you've broke my point with what you're saying about your ranks, but you can't tell me that these aren't the same sort of situations. These are 2 teams that had no wide receivers, now have what we would consider a pretty good
Swift and Kamara, the Lions and the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I haven't ranked the same. Almost.
I just think Kamara's on the down end of his career.
He might.
Is on the
Dude,
up
he
end.
could be, for sure. He could be. I'm basing it off of what I saw last year and the year before. And he's very balanced. I think he's one of the most balanced running backs in the NFL. He stays up. He can catch. He can run. Talent's there. You can't deny it.
All right, let's keep it
Never
moving.
had a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
rushing.
Yeah.
And how many top 5 finishes does he have? 2, 3?
I think 3. I think 3.
With less than 1,000 yards rushing. Wow.
I want to hit one more back unless you guys wanted to hit somebody specifically here, but Barkley at 12.
I think these are important backs. Honestly, like the beginning of the, that those back, RB2s, those are super important.
Well, I wanted to talk about they are. And Barkley is somebody, if I'm late second, actually, if I wish I have a draft coming up that I'm late second, and I'm hoping he falls there, and I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Mid second, I'm probably targeting Barkley. I have him. I'd probably target him early second, truthfully. I have come alive on Saquon Barkley. Saquon. I have him at RB9, but the three of us are the high guys on Barkley. I have him at 9. House has him at 13, Alex at 12. So we are the high ones. Is there anything that you wanted? House, I'll kick it over to you. You have him at, what did I just say? 12? 13.
Yep.
Is that something that you've changed recently? Have you been consistently ranked him there?
I actually had him lower. I was adjusting some things today, and he actually jumped up. I had him probably 16-ish. Maybe 17, and played with the numbers a little bit, and that's where he fell. He's shooting up the board for me, man. He's got top 5 potential if he stays healthy. The offensive line, Alex likes to talk about it. It's vastly improved. Everything that you see is people are sleeping on Saquon Barkley. Hate saying it about a Penn State guy, but it is what it is. He's a stud. He's electric when he's got the ball in his hands. They just have to be able to get the ball into his hands.
Yeah,
and I
think the one thing that you kind of glossed over is, again, kind of with the Najee thing. Who's going to take work here?
Right.
Nobody.
I don't even know if I could name the back behind him. I really can't. I could name Najee's. I can't name his. I can't think of it right now.
It's not.
Is it Wayne?
Anymore.
Is it Wayne Gallman?
No, Gallman went to Atlanta last year.
Can't be.
Okay. See, I can't even name the back behind him. So
it might be like Mostert or
Mostert's in Miami.
Or who was the other San Francisco back?
Oh, it is Breda. You always
Breda, Matt Breda.
Yep.
Yeah, that's who it was. I think it was one of those guys.
You forget him constantly. That's actually like the third time that you forgot his name.
Yeah.
You're like the other fast one.
They're all 5'11", 199, and run 4.3s. I think it's confusing.
Before we move on, is there anybody that you guys want to touch base on this list and this tier 3?
Other than you spelling James Conner's last name wrong, no.
Ah, man, I always spell Connor wrong. I don't know how to spell the first.
I'm looking for John Connor.
Let's please never do that again. You don't want to say anything about Javonte, about how we have him too low?
He doesn't want us to talk about it, so that's why he's moving on.
I know.
You guys can talk about it all. You guys can talk about it all you want. I have him at 11.
Gordon said he's going to be the number 1.
House has him higher than me. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I do. I just know you love him, and you target him in every mock that we do. So I didn't know if he needed to defend his honor.
Because like if I have him ranked at 11 and I'm getting him back half a second, I feel like that's great. I love it every bit.
Yeah,
it's not a fun thing to have him as your RB1, but like who else am I looking at if I'm ranking him 11?
Right. I got you. You're good. Keep it moving.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is still there.
Gosh.
Just let Alex be quiet.
Yeah.
He needs to stop doing those voices that he's doing right now.
Yeah.
That was Mario making those voices.
Certainly wasn't. For anybody that's not watching, it certainly wasn't. Don't let
that
Alex
was Mario. That was Mario speaking.
Whatever, Alex. Let's go to our tier 4 RBs. Okay. I got to be honest with you guys. You guys know there's one in here that I absolutely love. Outside of that, this is my least favorite tier that we have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not touching these guys outside of one. I guess let me ask you before I get into my sob story. Is there somebody that you want to touch on here that you want to talk about?
So let's go through who it is. It's Montgomery.
Thank you.
Zeke, ETN, J.K. Dobbins, and Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, so, I mean, we talked about it during the mock draft where I said, hey, you had to take Montgomery where you took him. So, I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know about him. Don't love him. Zeke, we've talked a lot about Zeke and Pollard, right, and how we think they're going to split, although Zeke did bust somebody in the head and pop their helmet off today. I don't know if you saw that video.
Oof.
Yeah.
They've
But I
still done
know
it. 2,000
you want to
touches.
talk about number 18.
Number
Travis
18, Travis
Etienne.
Etienne. I honestly am going to just keep this brief. I'm doing a lot of research on pass catching backs and what's the threshold to kind of make them fall into a place where you're comfortable with. Travis Etienne usually goes, actually, I shouldn't say usually, his ADP shows anywhere from 20 to 22, 23. Does he go that in every draft I've ever been in, and it's not even me grabbing him? No, he probably goes anywhere from 16 to 20 because of these RBs, and people typically take him over. So I wouldn't be surprised if his ADP rises. It just hasn't shown that. Going back to, I'm looking at some numbers with what do RBs do when they meet a certain amount of receptions, and in this, it's 51, which is 3 receptions a game. And it's 119 carries, which is 7 carries a game. And there's 2 cases in the last 11 seasons where an RB that has met those numbers, which is not easy hitting 51 receptions. On average, you see about 9 RBs do that a season. Last 11 seasons, there has been 2 RBs fall outside the top 20. And that's Deion Lewis and Ray Rice in 2013. I can't remember the Deion Lewis year right now. So outside of that, the rest of the RBs, 18 or better. If we're looking at ETN at 21 and we're saying 51 I don't want to say it's a shoe-in, but I'm projecting at least 51, playing with his college quarterback, playing with in an offense where the QB checks down a ton. Yeah, they got some weapons, Christian Kirk, Alex's favorite, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. They have weapons. I get it. But I'm expecting him to be the pass catching back here. And 119 should be an easier part of this, right? Like J-Rob he might start week 1. I want him to start week 1. I am not projecting it that he isn't playing this season. I'm just expecting Travis Etienne to dominate in the pass catching work and still get 7 carries a game.
51 catches would probably put him somewhere near the top 5 in receptions and RB. So that's the only reason why I'm a little bit lower. I do like ETN.
Typically it's about 9. So
9 what?
9 RBs that meet or do better than 51.
I think there was 6 or 7 last year that were over 51. So
maybe 8.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7 last year over 51 receptions. The
average is about 9. Actually, 9.2.
So my only thing with that is just because I haven't seen it, so I don't know what their game plan for sure is going to be like. I don't know what, with James Robinson when he's healthy, what that's going to do. I like ETN. I have him probably the lowest for the reason of I think you're pretty close on the money with carries. The 51 catches, 52 catches, I don't know if that happens. I think he's got the talent and they should do it. I just don't know. So that's why I'm a little bit more conservative on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. I think, again, like we don't know what the game plan is until we see week 1 for a lot of these players. But in your argument, we haven't seen anything from ETN. It's a rookie in our minds.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to not see it. He did it last year in college. Get it? It's college ball. It's a completely different game. Trevor Lawrence led the league in checkdowns. Are we expecting it? Like you could say it will be less. I get it. But how much less? Because he led by like almost 2 percentage points.
You're expecting them to have the same offensive scheme and playbook. Like the defenses are going to know if Trevor Lawrence checked down a ton last year, they are going to set up for him to do that. and they're going
No,
to
but you
dare
don't
him
think
to
that
throw
they're
the ball.
you don't think
downfield.
that they drafted ETN and T-Law for a reason?
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. I think
It wasn't for ETN's running. They had J-Rob that year.
And I think it's also they drafted him not caring about fantasy relevance. They're going to want to use
You're right.
James Robinson and Travis Etienne both.
I want
Why
J-Rob
not?
to be used. Told you this.
They're going to.
Yeah.
He's
Alvin
proved
Kamara,
himself.
right?
James Robinson has proved himself.
You have Alvin Kamara 7, Swift 8,
Yeah.
ETN 9.
I have ETN 23.
Oh, gross, dude.
So
Gross.
I'm closer to I think me, Cody, Brian are closer to
my
the ADP.
I mean, you guys heard the Dad Bod squad. This is my guy on the team. Like,
yeah, I get it. I don't hate it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
He's climbing. By the time the season starts, if you looked at ADP, then I think it's going to be higher than what it is right now.
16.
I think he's been one that has gradually increased. I haven't looked at it. That's just me making an assumption.
He has.
I
actually think he's peaked though. And
he's not
the only reason
higher. No.
Exactly, because the J-Rob news that has been coming out.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, James Robinson's gonna start. And I don't think that was actually said. They said he'll play week 1. And I don't care if he starts. If he starts, he starts, whatever. That is not the ETN role that I'm looking for. I am looking for Alvin freaking Kamara. That's what I want.
You have to have a good offense to do like the Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. Like you have to have the quarterback.
I'm not calling for
it has to.
J-Rob.
But it has to be, and it can. It's one of those things where I'm like, I am more conservative on him, and I'm not going to argue. Like your ranking is totally off base. I get it. His ceiling can be ridiculously high. I just have to see this offense. I have to see what the coach is going to do. It is just going in blind. We don't know anything.
He's a mystery.
It is a complete mystery.
There's no arguing that. Like I don't disagree with that.
It's risky, especially with James Robinson. It is like a risky Alex, pick where you want him.
Something that you didn't even mention that adds extra risk to this is he's coming off a Lisfranc injury.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's less than 50-50 negatively for players outside after a Lisfranc. Granted, in that article that I was reading, it was a lot of older dudes. It wasn't their first year out, but it's still not something that you're
not
excited
for
about.
Younger players.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that you're looking forward to their season afterwards. Let's just say that. So yeah, no, I mean, there's risk involved. We have somebody that loves J.K. Dobbins on this episode. I know we do.
Do we?
No, we don't.
No, I thought House was a higher on him.
No, I'm low on J.K. Dobbins.
We're the lowest. We're the 3 lowest.
We are the lowest.
Yeah.
You know, if he didn't tear his ACL, it would be higher a little bit. Not crazy.
Yeah.
Any love for Josh Jacobs?
Alex, I like him.
Alex, we're the high guys right now, but I do feel like I'm a little.
I'm at 13. I'm at 13. Yeah,
which is interesting as a Patriots fan. You would think, okay, Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is over here in Las Vegas.
Hey, you got it.
Got to take my time here. Also, I'm not drinking coffee this episode, so I feel like I have been struggling.
At 10 o'clock drinking coffee.
Yeah. So Josh,
psycho.
You don't see him just carrying over exactly what he does in New England, or do you just not care?
I just don't. McDaniel. Here's the thing: smart coaches don't do the exact same thing. They do make some changes. They do. It might have worked for that team. It might not work for this team. You're right. He's not Gruden. Gruden, I think, is one of the worst offensive play callers in a long time. Kenyon Drake isn't really going to mean anything. They're going to get – it's his last year. They're going to get as much as they can out of him.
Your table again. What the hell, Jack?
They're going to run.
He's just ready for it.
He's going to run through that barn full speed ahead.
Keep going.
No, I like Josh Jacobs this year. I do. It's going to be – Raiders are going to be super fun to watch.
I think what's interesting is that Okay, never mind. I thought you had him somebody near him as well. I thought you had David Montgomery there. And I think David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs are two of the toughest running backs for me to project this season. Because they could either just get loaded with volume, which is always what we're looking for.
Yeah.
There's just been some weird reports coming out of camp this season for both of these guys, and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Don't sleep on Zamir White taking work from Jacobs.
I like Zamir White, and I think he's gonna do well his first year. But it's Josh Jacobs is taking all first team reps, and they're gonna run him into the ground. They're not gonna re-sign him, and if they are, he needs to have a great year. So Josh McDaniels gonna run him. He loves to run the ball. So Zamir White might be involved, but does he take Jacobs' spot? Probably not. Zamir might be more fantasy relevant than I have him ranked, but I do like Josh Jacobs this year.
You love this whole offense.
Why not? Derek Carr is the most underrated QB in the league. I'm excited.
He's just going to load up this offense. You have
He almost had 5,000 yards last year with Hunter Renfrow and Zay Jones and
Devontae Adams as your wide receiver 1. Surprisingly, Darren Waller as your wide receiver 7.
Yeah,
Or
I think it
tight end
takes a
7.
little hit.
No love for Hunter Renfrow. Disgusting. Let's move over to our it is weird how low you have him. Our tier 5 running backs. We'll talk about that later, Alex. Probably in text where we're keeping house awake. Number 21, AJ Dillon. Number 22, Elijah Mitchell. 23, Antonio Gibson. 24, Cam Akers. 25, Breece Hall. 26, Tony Pollard. So initially I wanted to do our top 24 when we were looking at these. Breece Hall and Tony Pollard fell into the same tier. So I wanted to include them just for the fact that they're in the same tier. I think I want to talk about two things that grossly stand out to me. I think we're a little too low on Breece Hall. Maybe it's that unknown. But the one thing I'm confident in and that I haven't even adjusted enough of, we're too high on Antonio Gibson, dude.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
All the reports lately, man.
They're bad.
Like working out on special teams and stuff like that. I mean,
he fumbled one too many times.
Yeah, he had a fumbling problem last year. I don't know. I still think that Ron Rivera gives him the shot starting out the season, but I think he's one fumble away early on of just literally being non-existent.
It sure does seem that way. And I mean, we're talking like he might be falling to your 7th, 8th round in drafts. And then you're looking at guys like Damian Harris. Here you go, Alex. Rashad Penny. Kenneth Walker, typically before this hernia news. Tony Pollard. I'm not going Gibson over any of those guys.
No. We all need to adjust.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, I think there needs to be him closer to our 30.
It's still a couple weeks left to kind of
better.
figure it out. Like, it is camp. For me, next week, that's what I'm waiting for. Gibson, I did move down, but I'm really waiting to see what happens next week, to see how much more I'm going to move him down, or if I'm going to keep him in mid 20s to early 30s.
I actually think I texted Brian, and I'm trying to see if I could find it at all, that Antonio Gibson's a guy that we forget about and then come back 6 years and be like, oh yeah, remember him? That's where I have. He sure seems that way.
He might play receiver. Who knows?
I was scrolling through Twitter today, and Dave Kluge had a great tweet about Antonio Gibson. And it says, per sources, Ron Rivera has swapped out Antonio Gibson for Brian Robinson as his MySpace top 8.
That's great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Alex, I don't think this is a crazy rank, but I do want to bring it up because here's the crazy rank.
Right.
But it's the same person. You guys both have Cam Akers. House has him at RB17. Alex, you're at 24. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Cam Akers this season.
Does that mean I'm going? Yeah.
You have him ranked the highest. So you start.
You are the Cam Akers truther by default of having him
by
RB22.
default, and I again, man,
Almost top 15.
I
just
hate it.
saying.
You know, I love the talent of Cam Akers. I love what he
too.
can bring to the table. On that offense, I think that a running back could, you know, the right running back, if Cam Akers is right, he has upside.
Mhm.
Maybe I've been listening to Cody too much.
Banging
But
the
I am
Daryl Henderson drum.
I am starting to lose my faith in Cam Akers. At the beginning of the season, again, I've made some adjustments. I don't know if I've looked more into Akers since then as I have with some of these other guys, but I'm starting to fall out of love with where I was at the beginning of the year. So I'll probably end up dropping him from where he is now. So while I am currently the quote unquote Cam Akers truther, I probably might be in the next week. But I mean, the talent's there. The spot that he's in is there. Coming off the injury, did he rush back? Did he not? It's up in the air. I mean, I think he's in that conversation, in that probably 22 to 30 range. I probably have him a little too high. Thinking about some of these other guys and where they're at and where they're going to fall. But I could see where mine sticks out compared to everybody else. It'll probably change.
Here's one question, and it's something that I like to think about, not even with rankings, but just in general, if I'm in or out on a guy. In any mocks, have you been grabbing him where he goes?
No.
Which is crazy because you're higher than the ADP.
Yeah, I know.
So it's funny because like I get to Cam Akers, not quite like tier 4 for us, where I fade almost all of these guys, but Cam Akers is one that he goes right around with those guys that we just showed.
Yeah.
We just don't have him ranked there. But yeah, I mean, he's right on that list of me just passing him by. Alex, you have him at 24. You took him in a mock recently.
Yeah. I like him. It might take him a little bit to get going, but it's an offense that's just built for him to
high-powered.
be. Yeah. So even if it takes him a little bit of time, and that's why I have him where it's at 24. I mean, I'm thinking if the first few games he's 100% healthy and good to go, he's top 15. But I do think it takes some time. But when it does happen, the talent's there. I think he does make a full recovery, and that team is just loaded. It's not gonna be that hard for him.
You don't think they do a committee there with Henderson?
I think they do kind of early on. I think they do early on. There's been some reports like
McVay has been saying my RBs, or it's like people have been seriously like taking a microscope to it and like, oh, he said this.
For sure.
Yeah.
But Sean McVay is super smart, and he wants to
too often.
He wants to make sure that Henderson does get enough action because he is a very good backup. But to say that, Sean McVay doesn't love his, bell cows, he made Todd Gurley have one of the best seasons ever.
A little bit different though, right? I mean, that's all we've seen. That's it.
I mean,
outside of that,
he hasn't been a head coach that long.
I know, but I'm just saying he had Todd Gurley the whole time. Then you get to with the Cam Akers, Daryl Henderson, Sony Michel.
But those guys are like Sony Michel isn't Cam Akers, obviously.
No.
Sony Michel's on another team.
Oh, I was gonna argue for you in a sense, but McVay ran those guys like they were bell cows, but that was because of availability at the time. Cam Akers was out, Henderson was out. Then when Sony Michel went down, Henderson was the bell cow again, and because Cam Akers was out. So like, do we actually know that McVay likes to run a bell cow system, or did he have Todd Gurley, who was dominating at that time? It's chicken or egg.
No, we're just going off of the histories that whoever is the healthiest and best back, he gives majority of the carries to. So that's all we do know. We don't know if
there's no options.
Well, but what I'm saying is, with Cam Akers,
somebody's got to get the ball.
Yeah, and I do think that they do a committee. I wouldn't even call it a committee. I would say is an easing back in for Cam Akers. I don't think it's a committee. I really, really don't. I think if Cam Akers is 100%, healthy and what he's supposed to be, they're gonna. It's I think it ends up being the 65%, load for Cam Akers.
Alex, let me ask you one more question before we get off here. Tony Pollard's on our list, 26.
Yeah.
Without looking it up, how many receptions did he have last season?
Ooh. 52.
No. You just
Oh,
said
yeah.
there was only 7 that did that last season.
I thought he was in that group.
No. He's at 39.
Okay.
Do you think he can add 12 receptions to his game? Because he had 130 carries. Look at that, man. I swear I got to get better at like memorizing these, but I did just memorize that one. It feels good.
Probably. The whole Zeke Pollard thing is just the most confusing thing. Like, I have Zeke at 16, so I do think I moved him up a little bit. I think I have him the highest. No, I don't.
Brian has him at 14.
Oh, no. Cody has him at 12.
Oof.
Yep.
I don't know if I have him 12, but I think Pollard does do well. I probably need to move him up a little bit, but I don't know why he's at 32.
So it's a passing league. We haven't quite seen such a paradigm shift for RBs. Actually, I want to say from 2011 to 2016, it was higher. They had more receptions in that period. I'll have to look this back up. Are we going to start seeing more hybrid running backs? I think it has to start happening. They're talking about Pollard coming out of the slot quite a bit on this offense. There's a ton of vacated targets. They're running with no Gallup. They're running with no James Washington. They're like, this is our guy. We know he's talented.
When you say hybrid, do you mean guys that are getting a lot of receiving work or guys that are lining up in historically wide receiver sets? Out of the slot?
Yeah, I want to say both, House. So, just because we see J-Rob on the field, are we not going to see ETN in the slot? I get it. That offense is way different because Christian Kirk will probably likely be in the slot predominantly, but there could be 2 slots. I mean, a slot is just the inside wide receiver.
The inside guy, right?
Yeah. So, are we going to say that this isn't going to be something that the NFL starts doing more? I would like for it to happen because we're not getting the points from these guys running the ball.
Yeah.
That's fantasy related, right?
I think you're going to see that with Pollard. I think you're going to see that with another guy on this list where you're going to have Dillon and Jones on the field at the same time in Green Bay. I think you could see that in Jacksonville. So I think you're seeing it some. But the reason I asked the question that I did was we don't have a lot of the traditional
slot running backs.
Line up in an I formation and run the ball downhill type running backs in the league anymore, right? Even a guy like Fournette, who could play in that style or in that role because of his size, because of the way that he runs and his running style. They use him, as a receiver because they have to do it. Really, I mean, the only one that's not kind of in that mold is Derrick Henry. So the league is moving that way, and I think we talk about it because we always talk about the receiving work out of the backfield. So that's why, the clarification of, are we trying to get what they thought Reggie Bush was going to be, where you could line him up anywhere on the field, or are you talking specifically about just the receiving work? Because we're already there for that.
Yeah, and that might be something that maybe I need to kind of realize, right? Like, we're seeing these running backs get pass catching work. They're getting receptions. But maybe I'm ignoring the fact that they're getting 20 to 30, and I'm hoping that they get, 40 to 50.
Right.
So maybe that's what I need, because that number hasn't really changed in the past 10 years. But I bet you the 15 to 30 has gone up drastically for running backs.
Right.
And I think you're right when you said what you said. I just wonder if we're going to see more, I guess. And I think maybe it's going to be a slow process, but I do think it happens and it slowly converts that way. We're seeing wide receivers run the ball now. I mean, it's kind of an interesting evolution of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's watch the college offenses and what those look like right now, and you're going to see more and more and more of that hybrid style, with all the speed and the tempo and the running quarterbacks. I mean, think about it. Where were running quarterbacks 10 years ago? They were in college.
Yep.
and you had to have that pocket
2 or
passer.
3 in the NFL,
and,
right?
And now, right now, what does it look like? Like, I think, we've called out that I'm a Steeler fan countless times. Think of Cordell Stewart. Cordell Stewart, if the NFL was the same way that it is right now, would have been a first-round pick when he got drafted in the 3rd by the Steelers because he could throw the ball, he could run the ball. But nobody thought that he could do anything. So because he ran, it's the shift over the course of time. Watch it happen in college, then it happens in the NFL.
Yeah. Really made for Cordell's breakout season this past year. Somebody who knew how to use him in that hybrid role.
Exactly.
I think the drastic change is it's not like the mobile QBs from college or they're coming into the pros and it's like being a drastic change. I think there's quarterbacks who are better passers who decide to become more mobile, like Trevor Lawrence, like Justin Herbert, like these guys who are 6'6", who could have just been Peyton Mannings and just been 6'6", 230 sitting in the pocket. But now with the advancement in like science and weight training and recovery in general, I mean, these guys are getting bigger, faster, stronger. So those typical guys who were probably going to be pocket QBs 15 years ago, they are now mobile.
I think you could put Mitch in that category too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like, it's just now it's every QB has to be able to run.
That we're gonna wrap it up here, boys. Before we get too much on a QB having to run tangent. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? I have to check this every time now. Sometimes I cut out.
A little bit. It's cutting a little bit, but.
If you're not already, check us out on Twitter at Dad Bod FS, on YouTube and Twitch. We'll be posting our videos. They're already streaming there. Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. We'll post to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major streaming podcasts. Go check us out, download, subscribe on YouTube. For Alex, House, myself, peace.
Kenny Pickett for number 1 QB at Pittsburgh.